Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks for having this hearing. This comes at an important time when we've obviously heard issues like Flint. We've got a 5-year drought ending in California, and it's a good time to talk about sustainability and resiliency. And we see reports that water prices would have to increase by 41% in the next 5 years to cover the cost of replacing infrastructure. A New York Times op-ed by Charles Fishman said water is broken, data can fix it. And it claims that more than any single step, modernizing water data would unleash an era of water innovation like anything in the century. So I wanted to explore that with some of you who've mentioned that. Ms. Thorpe, you said that in your testimony that innovation data and information systems could increase transparency, enhance public engagement and awareness, provide more effective oversight, and ultimately lead to increased public health protection. Can you tell me kind of what are the primary drivers for the lack of data, and what are the steps we might take to employ data to be doing something beyond what we all agree we're doing today, but we need to do?
Thank you, Congressman Peters.
Would you move the microphone?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's not a lack of data necessarily, as it may be a lack of ability to compile the data and then make it usable to not only regulators but to folks in the drinking water sector, in the public interest and public health communities. There's some interesting recommendations on that. In the sometime late last year, the President's Council of Science Advisors did an interesting report on drinking water data and urged folks to take a look at it. I do think some of the authorizations we've talked about today for state programs, as well as SRFs and EPA itself, could lead to progress in that area.
I guess I'm looking for more specifics on the steps we should be taking. Sometimes I find that if you leave it up to states to make these decisions, some of them will make more progress than others if they're not given the kind of technical assistance that we might be able to provide here.
Well, so one simple step would be improving the technology we use both at EPA and in states for making it possible for drinking water consumers to understand monitoring results in their water systems, not just lead, but others, that sort of thing.
Okay, Mr. Potter, maybe you had some ideas about this as well. Is it feasible to put water quality data online in real time? Would that increase transparency?
Yes, sir, it is. Was that directed to me?
Oh, I'm sorry. I said, I was looking at Proctor, but I'm sorry, Mr. Potter, yes.
Yes, sir, it is. We have real-time water quality data that we do and can put on the web.
Is there something in this bill we should be doing to encourage that?
I think encouragement of that in the asset management realm would be a perfect idea. Another example would be use of automatic metering to measure use at the tap and compare that to production. That would be a great asset management tool to identify where your leaks are. So there's lots of room for additional technology to be used in our industry.
Is that being successfully employed in particular places?
We're exploring that presently.
Okay. But you're exploring whether it's being employed or how it could be employed?
How it can be used once it's deployed. We're transitioning to that data, to that technology right now.
Mr. Faust, maybe you could I've got about a minute left. Maybe you could tell us kind of, we received a D on our drinking water infrastructure, and you've talked about whether this bill appropriately addresses the water infrastructure needs. What funding levels would you recommend adding into each bracket, and briefly, why would you do that?
Mr. Peters, we talked earlier about the fact that we would recommend appropriations at the full authorization level for WIFIA at $45 million in fiscal year 18, a doubling of the SRF's water and wastewater from their current fiscal year 17 levels for fiscal year 18. To the issue of the data and the information, if that is part of this question as well, I concur with what was said on using it for asset management, but also from security and preparedness, having on-time, real-line data on water system quality, I think is a very, very vital thing. And I think the PWSS programs and supporting the states in their efforts at not less than the current funding levels are really important to go forward.
Great. And just along the lines of Mr. McNerney's question, I think we have something here that we can find wide agreement on, but I think we can do more, and I hope we take the opportunity to improve off of the standard things that we've been doing for a long time, and appreciate all the witnesses for being here today. I yield back.